This week on Driven.
Cars are meant to be driven.
And we're driving them on some of the best roads in the country.
The way God intended you to drive.
Around the home of country music.
Here we get to enjoy the cars and also discover some of the wonderful things about this area.
You forget about the rest of the world for just 4 days.
It's the Audrain Motorsports Grand Ole Nashville Tour, and we're on the road again.
God, I hope there's no cops on the road.
There's something about these back roads around Nashville that makes you want to write a song. Roads as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. A ride as sweet as strawberry wine. A drive that is equal to the destination. A Sunday drive that's going to last a long, long time.
Problem with travel today, it's all about destination. Gotta see this, gotta do this. When it really should be about the journey. Because the journey is where the fun is. The journey is the action.
I'm leaving the details of this journey to the experts. Audrain Motorsport, part of the Audrain Automotive Museum Group in Newport, Rhode Island. A museum in constant motion.
Audrain is and has been from the very beginning about moving forward with vintage cars. In most cases, it's all about the beauty of the vehicle in motion, the humans in motion, and more importantly, it's about the people, because people always have stories about cars.
The better the road trip, the more legendary the car story.
The mission of the museum is to celebrate, preserve, and share automotive history. And to me, you can't share automotive history any better than having the cars out on the road.
They're kinetic art, they're not a piece of fixed statuary.
Cars are meant to be driven. They are a tool, very often. They're beautiful tools. That's what I love about it.
It's one of the reasons why I'm at the Audrain, because for me, cars have their highest form when they're moving, when you can see the sun passing across the bodywork, when you can hear the engine, when you can smell the hot oil. I mean, to me, that is the highest form that a car can take, and that's how I really get into my enjoyment of cars.
Think of Audrain Motorsport as the turbocharger of the group.
Audrain Motorsport encompasses a lot of different things that the Audrain does. So we do tours like we're on this week. We do all sorts of other events. We have a membership club with Clubhouse in Newport, Rhode Island, and we do track days as well. So it's a lot of varied things that we're doing to enhance, what automotive enthusiasts can do with the Audrain, not just the museum.
The whole Audrain experience is, we have a museum, everything is curated, but we use the same skill set for our tours. You're going to somebody else's environment and you're enjoying the scene, whether it's England, whether it's Italy, whether it's the US.
I like to think of these as a vacation for your car and a vacation for you, because our cars also want to have this kind of exercise. To be able to live on a daily basis with your special car, it's not commuting on the interstate, it's not driving through city traffic. That's not what this is about. It's about sort of the dream life for you and the dream life for your car. You're both happier when you get to experience it that way.
But what if, like me, you can only dream of driving a special car? The Audrain Motorsport Charter Collection can make that dream come true.
One of the reasons behind the creation of the Charter Collection was a very simple one. The fact is, how many people have you met in your life who said, oh yeah, I used to have a sports car, and then I got married, and then I had a kid, and I had to sell it, and I'd love to have one of those again. And you say, well, why not? I consider myself professionally as a car enabler. So, hey, you want one of those cars? I can help you find one.
Just for this sort of event. And also members can use them on a daily basis or rent them for the weekend.
To hire one of these cars, and especially to hire for an event like this, is even better because you can tootle around town, but to get to know a car on roads like this, the way they were intended to be used by their makers, is very special, and it's an opportunity we want to give everybody, access.
So I've been granted access to this Porsche convertible.
So you have a 2009 911 Carrera S4, which with a PDK. So it's a great, luxurious, very fast car.
Top down, hammer down. Hair and caution thrown into the wind.
Not too much caution thrown to the wind since it's our car, but I hope you did have some fun.
And the people that are on this tour, the people that are members of Audrain Motorsport, are all about using their cars.
Certainly not your usual museum get-together.
Cars are not static things. They're best experienced in motion. So when you just see cars sitting, it's hard to really take them in. And when you have the opportunity to drive them, especially on fabulous roads and going to and from fabulous places in the least efficient way possible, it's a huge amount of fun.
With car, tour guides, and a group of motoring enthusiasts, we only need to be pointed in the right direction to start writing our own car stories.
Hope you guys packed your banjos, guitars, and fiddles. We're heading to Nashville.
A tour like this is the equivalent of the Sunday drive, something which has almost completely disappeared, the destination-less journey. And we do have destinations in this tour, but it's not about getting to that place. It's how you get to the place and what you experience on the way.
Up next, we hit the backroads of Tennessee on Audrain Motorsports' Grand Ole Nashville Tour. When Driven continues. Making sure that the drive is worthy of the destination, the base camp for the Audrain Motorsport Grand Ole Nashville Tour is the Harpeth Hotel in downtown historic Franklin. A picturesque town surrounded by pleasing pavement and rally-ready roads that must have been created with a sports car in mind.
A question that's often asked is, when is it too cold to put the top down on a Porsche? And the answer? Never. It's never too cold.
For me, I'm in a car with the top that goes down, and it's a little chilly, but I don't care because you want to get the sense of everything that's going on, to feel the sun on my head, to smell the fields. I mean, that's what it's all about. You can't do that driving on an interstate highway from city to city.
It's a beautiful day to test your hair products. That's what I say.
That may be the hardest test on this tour and future tours that the Audrain is planning.
You want to be able to enjoy the event, so we're going to try and keep them pretty much under 500 miles, 300 to 500 miles each, and allow it to be 4 days so it's nice and you get to know everybody.
I've been on a lot of vintage rallies and tours that are extremely demanding. The historic Mille Miglia, for instance, 13 hours a day behind the wheel driving the car, which is epic and wonderful, but it's also exhausting.
They're all wonderful events, but they're driving only events. This is stop and smell the roses, because life's, it's about those moments you can appreciate.
Here we get to enjoy the cars and also discover some of the wonderful things about this area. Going to the Lane Motor Museum, which is extraordinary. I mean, I could have spent 6 hours just at the Lane.
If you're like me, the more bizarre the car, the better, then the Lane Motor Museum is a must-see. And it's our first stop on the Grand Ole Nashville Tour.
It's the most extraordinary collection in the world. I've never seen anything like it.
It was a visceral and very tactile experience for me, because many of those cars I've never seen.
It's all weird stuff that most of us haven't heard of.
And they're not the world's most expensive cars. They don't have to be, because they are the world's most compelling cars.
Jeff had a collection of about 80 cars, and someone suggested the museum format. We have 552 cars in the collection, not counting the 10 or so airplanes, 30 or so motorcycles, scooters, and mopeds. I don't know how many bicycles, I've lost count. So this is the largest European car collection in the United States. But a lot of it, as you'll see, and as you probably have already guessed, it's a lot of weird things.
Tell me how you describe this museum.
It's kind of like the land of misfit toys, from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. If it doesn't really fit in another car museum, it's probably here.
If I could give you one misfit toy to take off the island, what would it be?
Well, I like the Helicron, which we'll give rides in later. The Helicron's a one-of-a-kind propeller-driven car from France. It makes no practical sense whatsoever. It's very loud. It's very dangerous to drive.
And we were very lucky to be driven around the parking lot in a car propelled by a propeller.
Dangerous, loud. Sounds like a good ride.
Agreed, it is.
It's the perfect vehicle to be in if you don't want to talk to anybody, because you can't hear anything.
I don't know why they put the propeller in front, blowing all the wind onto the passenger compartment. It would have made some more sense to have it in the back pushing, but so be it.
Jeff's dad was an MG collector, and when Jeff turned 12, his dad said, "What do you want for Christmas?" He said, "I like my own MG." When he turned 16, he took his driver's license test in this vehicle right here. So we like to say that this is sort of vehicle number one. This is where the collection started.
It's a museum filled with a passion. They know what they're doing. They have a focus, and it's incredible.
Oh, I have a really strange car. You know where it belongs? Lane Motor Museum. And then it winds up here. The headlights on the front fenders are very anthropomorphic, reminded them of a then new cartoon character, Mickey Mouse. So Topolino is Italian for little mouse, for those that don't know that. We have several cars in the collection where someone either got bored or they thought they would pull a Henry Ford and start a car company from a prototype. And then they produce a car, a home-built, one-of-a-kind, one-of-one car. But there's not a stamping on the engine. We don't know what chassis it's from. We're not sure really when even it was built. We can guess it was the 1950s.
That gyroscopic car, super cool to see that thing drive around.
This thing is really sensitive to crosswinds, to camber in the road, to going downhill, uphill. It has a problem basically with everything. So it's shaped like a pencil basically. So you can imagine if it falls over, it will just roll down the road.
All we need right now is some French music. Comfortable ride for a 59.
These seats are amazing.
They are really nice. I'm a big fan of the Citroën, or however they say it. Citroën. Quick ride in this car, I'm ready to parlez-vous français. I now know how to speak French. Omelette du fromage. No idea what I'm talking about.
Could not have been a better day, and I encourage everybody to go see the lane. It just goes to show you there's not one type of museum.
And Jeff ultimately was gracious enough to lend me his Mazda AutoZam AZ1. Got a 660cc turbocharged 3-cylinder engine, gull-wing doors. It's definitely the smallest thing on the road. Your butt's basically sitting on the ground. You are staring up at everything. It has a lot of pep, but you know, my idea of pep is I drive a lot of older cars, so I felt that it was very fast.
There's a place in Nashville where the old and new have mixed and evolved for almost 100 years. And it's our next stop. The Grand Ole Opry, the stage that showcases country music's past, present, and future. The home of country music. Like the Opry, Nashville is constantly changing. It's vibrant and alive. But Music City sounds even better in a convertible.
Disney World, you got nothing on this. This is an e-ticket.
Up next, we get to know Jack when the Grand Ole Nashville Tour continues on Driven. One drive on these paved playgrounds of the Grand Ole Nashville Tour, and you'll believe that Willie Nelson wrote "On the Road Again" right here.
One of the beauties of this area is you've got a combination of fantastic topography that's got rolling hills, which is great for driving roads, well-maintained, well-laid-out roads, and beautiful scenery. You know, you add all that together and you really have a great opportunity to get some sports cars and touring cars out there and give them a good bit of thrashing.
You know when fall colors look the best? At a high rate of speed. It gives it more of an impressionist look. That's right, we're painting like a Monet right now. Who's the artist? Porsche.
And our canvas is the wide-open backroads of Tennessee.
If you're just worried about going from point A to point B, you miss places like Bell Buckle, Tennessee. For the folks here in Bell Buckle, this is a parade.
The distance between A and B is the entire point of it. And you have the added benefit of arriving at B and having a great time there.
Where are we headed on day 2 of the Audrain Grand Ole Nashville Tour? Jack Daniels.
In Lynchburg, it's recommended before you meet Jack, you need to get a taste of true Southern hospitality at Miss Mary Bobo's Boarding House Restaurant, which has served up good home cooking with a side of Tennessee traditions since 1908.
fried chicken and all of the I'm not sure about the grits, but hey. I did experience okra. I'm an addict. I'm an okra addict.
Mr. Jack Daniels himself was also partial to the fried okra, and today, many of Miss Mary's desserts feature his whiskey.
I love just the process of raw materials coming out, being processed and being created into a product that people then take home with them.
Now, here's one of the really interesting things I think about the wood we use. So we get it from a 60-mile radius, but that's all wood that was rejected for making furniture. Yeah, so we take what would normally be a waste product and we utilize it, and I just think that's really cool. But before that happens, we gotta light it on fire. Now, we can't use anything petroleum-based. We can't use anything that's gonna change the taste of our product. So we use something highly flammable, readily available. Got plenty of it. Whiskey, yes! 140 proof right off the still. Throw it on there, light it up, get out of the way. But if you like a shot of Jack on the rocks, come on up, get a picture. Does anyone know why it is called a shot? It is called a shot because in the Old West, they would pay for a snuff of whiskey with a bullet. First one, furthest from the left, is Old No. 7 Black Label. We all know it, we've all tried it. It is the most recognized whiskey in the world. It is the #1 selling whiskey in the world. Sinatra Select was created to pay homage to one of, if not our biggest fan, Frank Sinatra, Old Blue Eyes. He was such a big fan that he would hold his glass up, say, "Do you know who Jack Daniels is? This is the nectar of the guys." He would have a brand new bottle on stage with him every night he performed. He was actually buried with a bottle of Jack Daniels.
I think that's one of the other things that a tour like this really helps people do, to explore a place that they might not think of going. I can't tell you the number of people that have experienced Tennessee for the first time in this tour, and I guarantee you they all want to come back.
Tennessee, you are a hidden gem.
My wife and I, Shelley, had so much fun just looking at these little towns and the little shops, and it was fun. It was just really fun, and you forget about the rest of the world for just 4 days.
One thing you will remember is the food, like the dinner and concert at Gray's on Main in historic downtown Franklin, set in an 1879 Victorian building that once housed the Gray Drug Company. The night was a perfect prescription for a day behind the wheel of a fine automobile.
Again, it comes back to a full experience with cuisine, with beauty, with music, with art, no matter what it is. It's incredible food for your total soul, mind, and body.
A day like this proves Willie was right, because I can't wait to get on the road again. On our final day of the Grand Ole Nashville Tour, we went a little out of our way to go the most incredible way.
So we're doing a drive south first to get onto the Natchez Trace Parkway, which I had not seen before. And that is an extraordinary road.
Just a drive right through history, smack dab through the middle of America. Twists and turns, beautiful scenery.
It is beautifully kept. It's like driving a 500-mile golf course.
How's your interstate doing today, people?
The Natchez Trace Parkway is an adrenaline kick for car and driver.
But on the interstate, the only time your adrenaline kicks in is when you're sandwiched between two giant semis that want to turn you into the stuffing of an Oreo cookie. This, on the other hand, is pure adrenaline. Pure fun. That's what this tour is all about.
If you take today's drive, for example, we spent about, a total of 3-ish hours driving a 20-minute drive. Especially with, enthusiast cars, it's not about the most efficient route, it's about the most enjoyable route. And that is oftentimes not the quickest route.
We're all used to going onto Google Maps and you go, I'm here, I want to get there, and it goes jump, jump, jump. Very often it's not the nicest route.
There has to be a fun button you hit that gets you on roads like this, the back roads, where it's just you the pavement, and a fine automobile. Something that can bring the fun back into driving the way God intended you to drive.
It was fun to join a group of like-minded folks and driving around some enjoyable, fun cars around the beautiful central Tennessee countryside.
So, you know, it all goes together. It's all of that getting together with friends, sharing food, sharing the drive.
It all goes together like hot biscuits and country ham at the iconic Loveless Cafe. A true Nashville landmark that was the perfect place to gather after putting our thoroughbreds through the paces on the trace. For visitors, there was ample horsepower on display.
Corvettes behind, Jags and Ferraris. Is it just me, or is this feeling a little Cannonball Runish? Kinda digging this. All we need is Lonnie Anderson.
On a tour like this, you see some great vintage Alfa Romeos, you see some wonderful modern Corvettes, you see some Porsches. It's the idea of whatever that point of engagement that you have with the car, it fits in the Audrain style. Because we go from the contemporary classics that are being created today to the classics of 150 years ago.
We'll be hearing the classics and hits of today as only Music City can play them. Our last night will be downtown Nashville for a night of honky-tonkin'.
Very sensibly, we're going by coach.
Ride, 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 we're gonna ride all night. Ride, 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 gonna let it ride. Tonight, our Nashville dream was to tour again.
We expect to have 2 to 3 tours a year and maybe 12 to 15 different locations globally.
Some really neat places where there are incredible roads, great scenery, and a great spirit that you can really get from using a car in an amazing environment.
Funnily enough, I was talking to somebody yesterday who hadn't done a car tour before, and they realized how enjoyable it was to drive in a group with interesting cars, and you always finish a tour with a smile, and there are always stories to tell.
Stories to tell and songs to write when we're all on the road again. Ride,